So today I'm going to be answering the question, does listening to music have a positive effect on those suffering from depression? Now, I myself have suffered from depression for many years, along with anxiety, and I decided to go in with this question for my research project because I wanted to see what professionals say, what is said online, what is said in books, what other people that struggle with depression say, and what people that don't struggle with depression say as well. So today I'm going to be doing lots of investigating. I've sent out a questionnaire and got lots of responses, so I'll be looking at those and I'll be looking at what professionals will say about this subject, along with what you have also said about it. So we're going to start off with looking at the questionnaire that I sent out. And I wanted to ask a series of questions that would really get a grasp of what the general public kind of think about the relationship between music and depression. So I started with the questionnaire, just getting an idea of who the people are. You can see here in these graphs that I got the gender and then I got the ages as well. I then went on to ask, do you enjoy listening to music? Now 151 people participated in this questionnaire and 140 people said yes and 11 people said sometimes. And then went on to ask, how often do you generally listen to music? And 127 people said every day, 14 said every other day, 4 said twice a week, 2 once a week, and 4 once every 2 weeks. I then went on to look at the mental health side of it. So I said, have you ever suffered from any mental health issues? 91 participants said yes, 36 said no, and 24 said unsure. I then asked, have you ever suffered with depression? 83 said yes, 42 said no, and 24 said unsure. Now in the previous question, 91 people said that they had suffered from mental health issues, and only 83 have said that they suffer from depression. The same amount of people said that they are unsure in both of those questions. I then asked, does listening to music lift your mood? 75 people said yes. 1 person said no, 59 said sometimes, and 15 said most of the time. 1 person said rarely. I then wanted to get a general idea of what the participants' music interests were, what genres they liked to listen to, and the answers varied by a lot. So there was popular music, jazz, folk, Christian music, EDM, film scores, soundtracks, Disney, sing-along songs. There were so many, and it was amazing to see the amount that people had actually answered that question. So then I moved on to the next question, which said, do you find that only certain genres of music lift your mood? If yes, which genres? Now some people said that it was all types of genres, so there weren't any specific ones. Others said that there were none at all that would lift their mood. Some people would write an endless list of all the genres that would lift their mood. But a lot of people also commented on that it depends on the mood they're in, it depends on the day they're having, it depends on the song and the lyrical content. So those answers didn't really relate as much as I thought that they would. So the final question that I wanted to ask was a question that I initially came up with for this subject, which was, does listening to music help to improve depression? Now I've changed that question since then, but this is the question that I asked those participating in the survey. Do you agree with the following statement? Listening to music helps to improve depression. 128 people said yes, and 26 people said no. Now this was quite interesting for me to discover, and all of these findings really gave more clarity to me as what other people in the world kind of experience with the relationship of music and depression. But I didn't want to leave my research there with the general public. I wanted to ask a few people some questions. So I picked out a few people that I know them, but I don't necessarily know their background that well, so I wasn't sure what the answers were that they were going to give. Now I'm just going to read you the questions that I decided to ask them. Now the first question that I asked them was, have you ever suffered any mental health problems? If so, can you give a bit of detail behind it and how long for? Now I asked 4 participants The male that was aged 21 said that at the age of 13 to 15 he suffered a mild form of depression, contemplating suicide a few times, and he also took to self-harming as well. At the age of 21 he now has anxiety and panic attacks. The female of 55 years old said that she wasn't sure about her own mental health problems, and now at this age she kind of gets a few days where she feels low and she feels a bit sad, but she realises that that might just be hormonal. And I asked another male who was 34, he said he's had mental health problems on and off since his late teens, with a variety of conditions, mainly depression and anxiety, and he does take some antidepressants to help him. I also asked a female aged 29 years old, and she says she's had mental health problems since childhood, but in the last 3.5 years she's really picked up anxiety, and when she's at her worst she has bouts of depression as well. She is on tablets and she has also sought cognitive behavioural therapy as well. Now the second question I asked was to describe their relationship to music. i.e. how often do you listen to music, do you play music, how do you feel when you listen to it or play it? The first person that answered my questions, which is the male at 21 years old, said that music is his life. He listens to it, he studies it and he plays it, and he feels good when he's listening to it. The female that was 55 years old says that she loves listening to music, she loves playing it, she loves singing it as well. She mainly chooses laid-back music to stay calm when she's carrying out tasks, and she purposely seeks from teenage years the music that evokes her memories as well. The male that's 34 years old says that he listens to music and plays music nearly every day. If feeling low, he will intentionally play uplifting music. And the female that's 29 years old says that she listens to music daily and it makes her feel more relaxed. The next question that I asked them is, do you think music has ever influenced your emotions in a positive and or a negative way? If yes, please explain further. So for the male that's 21 years old, he said music has influenced his emotions. When he's gone through a breakup, he'd listen to sad songs. When he's angry, he would listen to metal or heavy rock songs. When he's happy, he would listen to something uplifting, usually disco or 80s pop. The female that's 55 years old said that music affects emotions and emotions affect which music she chooses. So if she's feeling low, she may pick low songs to help her in that mood, or she may decide to pick uplifting songs to lift her out of that mood. She says it really depends on how she feels. The male that's 34 said that music influences emotions in positive and negative ways. He says it can cheer him up when he's picking the right song, but it can also make him feel worse when he's picking the wrong song. The female, who's 29 years old, said that music impacts her emotions. She said if she's upbeat, she's feeling better and has more energy, so she plays upbeat music. If she's feeling a negative emotion, the music that she chooses usually reflects those feelings that she has, but she tends to feel less alone in those times and feel more related to. Now the final question I asked was a bit more of a personal one. In your opinion, do you think music has a positive influence on those that suffer depression? Now the 21-year-old male said that music has a positive influence on his depression, and the music he listens to influences how he feels in the moment. He said, for example, with his panic attacks that he's been having recently, before he goes to bed, he would listen to some Christian worship music quietly to keep him calm and serene in that moment and to send him to sleep. The 55-year-old female said that she believes and has seen positive effects of music on well-being. She has witnessed and known music to save the lives of teenagers. Now the 34-year-old male said it depends on the type of music that is listened to. He also gave some advice in his answer that he wouldn't recommend that people would listen to Radiohead, for example, if they weren't in a great mood. And the 29-year-old female said that she definitely thinks there is a positive influence from music on those that suffer with depression. It tends to encourage people that they are not alone, that they can relate to the words, and it can improve the mood depending on the level of depression as well. But then I wanted to have a look at what professionals say about it and what is already out there on the internet, what is written in articles, and many other things. So first of all, I researched what depression is, and I looked on the NHS Choices website, and they said that depression is more than simply feeling unhappy or fed up for a few days. Most people go through periods of feeling down, but when you're depressed, you feel persistently sad for weeks or months rather than just a few days. They said that depression isn't a sign of weakness or something you can snap out of by pulling yourself back together. But with the right treatment and support, most people with depression gain a full recovery. I looked at a couple of different ways that you can get treatment for depression. You can get treatment through talking therapy, through music therapy, which is something I hadn't heard of before. You can also get antidepressants, and many other things can help as well. They also give general tips and advice for anybody that suffers mental health problems. So I looked at a couple of books and looked at what they were saying about depression, and what they said about the relationship between music and depression as well. Music therapy is something that is used to help treat mental health problems, and they also use it to treat depression as well. Now, a number of people have written about music therapy and written about how it helps those with depression or mental health problems. Wilson wrote a book called How to Overcome Depression Fast, and they said music therapists actually utilise all facets of music to help individuals suffering from various illnesses, including depressive disorder. Now, sometimes listening to specific types of music is indeed a usual part of the treatment, but there are also instances where a patient is asked to make music. Music therapy is one of the more established alternative forms of treatment for depressive disorder. Many studies regarding its effectiveness have been conducted with successful results. Its effect on depression has been likened to that of traditional therapy as well. I wanted to learn a little bit more of what music therapy is, so I found something that told me a little bit more about it, saying that music therapy is either active or receptive. Neither requires musical background. Active music therapy is where the therapist and the patient improvise, recreate or compose music using a drum. And the goal is for the patient to share thoughts and feelings that arise within music making, and as a result develop insight into his or her problems. Now, receptive music therapy is where patients listen to music while meditating, drawing or reminiscing. This process allows patients to improve their mood and develop coping and relaxation skills. The therapist selects instruments and music based on each patient's individual preference and needs as well. I wanted to get a bit of an idea of what music therapy does for individuals, and in the studies, what have they found? So I found a couple of articles online that are very similar. One of the articles said, for most people listening to music, even music expressing negative emotions like sadness or anger can be an effective way to deal with their emotions. And their study showed that rather than feeling better after listening to sad music, people with high scores in rumination reported feeling more depressed. Now, rumination is a tendency to become stuck in patterns of negative thinking and to find it difficult to shape negative thoughts about events or one's feelings. And research shows that when people are ruminators, listening to sad music seems to perpetuate these cycles of negative thinking, often prompting sad memories and negative thoughts. Now, depression and suicide are major concerns in the 21st century. The World Health Organization estimates that over 800,000 people die by suicide each year, with the 15 to 29 age group particularly affected. Studies show that adolescents listen to music for approximately 2 to 3 hours per day, especially when feeling depressed. This link between music use and depression in young people led to music being blamed for the suicide of several youths. Now, this writer also did a study, and in that all participants felt more depressed after listening to the sad song that they nominated. When they were asked to listen to a song that made them feel happy, even those with high level of depression felt much better. Now, this research shows us that when we feel depressed, we may need to be careful about what we listen to. And that goes back to what one of the participants on my interview said, is that if you choose to listen to a good song, you're more likely to feel happy. If you choose to listen to a sad song, you're more likely to feel sad. Dr. Barbara Ellicott said, Regardless as to whether or not you sing or play an instrument, listening to music can work wonders in lifting your spirits. Some types of music may put you into a more meditative mood. Others might help you to feel positive emotions and or help you to become more introspective. But other types might be used as a diversion or an escape from your present state of affairs. I wanted to get an idea of somebody that I didn't know and understand her perspective of listening to music and whether that helps with depression. Now I'm going to read her blog out that she put up in 2017. Then there are days I feel isolated and alone to the point where my music can be the only thing I hold on to. I've had depression and generalised anxiety disorder for 3 years. But I have a tattoo that says, when words fail, music speaks. Music has held me in its arms while I cry. It has taken my hand and walked in the darkness with me. Music has given my soul hope. Music can evoke different kinds of emotions, and sometimes those emotions are the ones that float on by when I have a depressive episode. But I know music will always be a way to escape and help me find peace. I think it's amazing to see a personal blog from somebody that has struggled with depression for that amount of time, and to see the way that she speaks about music and about how that has really helped her in those times where she's felt like she can't get out of that place. Sometimes people feel so alone that listening to music helps them feel like there's people with them. But I wanted to not just get this positive side of the way that listening to music can help people with depression. I wanted to try and investigate more into the negative side. Now I came across this story of DMC, aka Daryl McDaniels from Run DMC. And it said in 1997 he was at the top of the charts. He went on tour and he started to get himself into a bit of a negative downward spiral, thinking, is this really it? Is there any more to this than just what is before me? Now he made a decision to commit suicide when he got home. And when he was staring at the walls in a cold hotel room, Sarah McLachlan's song Angel came on. That song changed his suicide plan, and he later began to love that song. And it really changed his perspective and outlook on the world and on the situation that he was in. I found this story in an article called 9 Ways Music Can Cure Depression, and they also stated that music helps you express your emotions. It's melodic encouragement that helps you let go of suppressed feelings. Is so important. I also looked at a couple of online forums as I wanted to get a perspective of lots of different people and see what people have been speaking about so openly online to others, and see what their thoughts are on the relationship of music and depression. Now one person said, I was listening to music from the past that I love, and yet then I start to become depressed, and it was happy type music too. This person later went on to discuss her feelings and how she felt like there was nothing left. And there were other comments on that same forum that said that they also have problems with listening to music because some music takes them back to the places where they felt at their lowest. Some reminds them of memories that they wanted to forget, and so on. And so it's important that we look at this side of the negative impact that music can have on those with depression. I also looked at a video just to get more of an idea. I wanted to look at so many different things to kind of understand what this all means and understand the relationship more. And the video said that research has shown that music can have a strong effect on us. It can alleviate anxiety and depression, increase spatial awareness and enhance mood. The genre of music can be important as well. Positive and upbeat music can help lift your mood, but slow and sad music might increase your depression. But listening to music associated with bad memories may also make your symptoms worse. But again, that depends on the individual. My eyes have definitely been opened to the effect that listening to music can have on those that suffer from depression. Before I started looking into this topic, I thought that listening to music would have a positive effect. For me, it generally does. But I didn't really understand the negative effects that listening to music can have on people that suffer from depression. I never experienced it myself, so it was really interesting to see what other people said about that, what professionals said the effect could have, and also what individuals that suffer from those issues have said it has as well. Now I think the answer to my question is probably unanswerable to come up with one yes or no answer. I think that music has a positive and a negative impact on the people that suffer from depression. I just wanted to finish by talking about a little story that I found in a book. And this book was called Your Playlist Can Change Your Life, and he used an analogy where he was talking about if you are sat at a red light at the traffic lights in your car driving, the car next to you has got their music blasting and it's really heavy rock and metal music, and you're just sat there and the lights will not change and you're just thinking in your head, I do not want to listen to this music, let me move, please turn green. Now sometimes that's the effect that listening to music can have on people, is it can make them feel more annoyed, more stressed, and wanting to get away from that space. But if you have a playlist in your own car and you hear that car that's coming up, you just turn your playlist up and you know the playlist that you want. So you turn your music up and you're not so bothered about the fact that the car next to you has got their music blaring out. Now I really like that analogy. When you are listening to music, have a think about the effect that it is having on your mental health.